Buried is a map that does not get enough credit for the zombie storyline. We think of Buried as kind of being the end of the Transit Crew, right? We only think of that Easter egg kind of wrapping up the Transit Crew storyline and nothing else, and then sort of just kind of making the way for Origins, and then right after that being the whole story arc of Black Ops 3. But Buried and the elements of this are so much more than that. This is literally the setup for Black Ops 3 Zombies. This is practically how Moon set up for the events of Black Ops 2 and the story arc of that. This is what Buried honestly did for Black Ops 3 Zombies. This Origins did not set up for this, Buried did, and I'm going to explain why. But before we get started here, guys, we have a lot to talk about today, and if you do enjoy this video, don't forget to slap that like button on this video. Really would help out a ton, and we're going to be going for 115 likes. Of course, you guys know how we do it around here. But let's go ahead and jump right into this. Now, you guys know that in Black Ops 3 Zombies, the Apothicons have just been recently introduced in this game only. We haven't had any mentions of that actual word itself. I mean, we've had hints and different things kind of alluding to the effect that the Apothicons are actually in the universe, but we didn't actually hear the word itself in the older games such as Black Ops 1 or Black Ops 2, but if you're actually paying attention, the basic groundwork for the Apothicons and the Keepers was all in this game, and specifically very much in Buried. Now, of course, in Buried, we are featured with our 4 original Transit characters, this being Misty, Marlton, Russman, and Stuhlinger. And there was one particular change on one of the characters that actually sets up for Black Ops 3. There are all the maps on Black Ops 2 that have our Transit characters in this. Stuhlinger wears the exact same thing. In fact, every other single character wears the same thing except for one slight change in Buried, and this being Samuel Stuhlinger, and he has a certain book in his pocket. Now, as you can see right here, this is the model only in Buried of Samuel Stuhlinger's model, and you can see in his pocket right here this specific brown book just kind of halfway popping out, and this is not in any of the other maps. You can go to all the other maps in Black Ops 2, but you only see this book in his pocket in Buried, and I've always found this very, very interesting. In fact, I even saw this back in the days of Black Ops 2 when I was doing this Buried Easter egg. I noticed this was in his pocket and not on the other maps, but I had absolutely no idea why, and I kind of shrugged it off thinking that was like a slight model change, didn't really have any sort of significance, and we thought that way all the way up until Black Ops 3. And in this game, we were introduced to tons of new objects. For example, the summoning key and the chronorium, just a bunch of things that we didn't really know about existed in the zombie storyline pre-Hand 2 Call of Duty Black Ops 3 dropping, and we obviously know about now, and they're pretty much integral to the storyline. I would tell you that this book is just as important as those other items, if not more important than what we have, like the summoning key and the chronorium, which it could be an equivalent to the chronorium, is basically the point that I'm going to be trying to make in this video. So, the person who's actually carrying this is going to be the person or the subject in today's video, and this is going to be none other than Samuel Stuhlinger. You know that he is the only one kind of who is able to talk to Richtofen. He's got more knowledge than all the other sort of characters, and he's always very suspicious. Now, in Transit, Stuhlinger's quotes are really, really interesting. Now, he always talks about aliens or some sort of other being out there and controlling the zombies. There's a specific quote, I forget exactly how it goes, so I'm paraphrasing here, of course, but he says something about the zombies definitely not being mindless. Like, he knows that they're not mindless, and they're actually being controlled by high power or something else. And this was kind of like our first hints into telling that the zombies are being controlled by one specific power and could be influenced by the, the Keepers, the Apothicons, or whatever we kind of thought back in the day. And Stuhlinger's quotes were interesting, but regardless, weren't really something to take too seriously or to look into because there wasn't much there that we could actually find on the surface. But it was just something that if we actually kind of look back at it now and looking into Black Ops 3 and all the storyline info and basically all the details that we have now, it actually makes a lot more sense. And basically the point I'm trying to get here in this video is that Stuhlinger was hinting and was right about the Apothicons getting into the universe this entire time. So the first map that we got on Black Ops 3 was of course Shadows of Evil, and this is when we were first introduced to our real physical Apothicons. When we finish up the ritual and we see the huge Apothicon monster in the sky, that was our first real glimpse into that. But obviously we had the things like the beast mode and Margwas and all this sort of stuff, so it was definitely a higher power rather than just zombies. But since this was a relatively new thing into the storyline, we've always wanted to find out the origin and where these Apothicons originally came from. Now, when you're doing the Easter egg in Shadows of Evil, as soon as you upgrade the swords, there will be a book in Nero's room. Now, there's this brown book sitting right here. You just kind of hold square on this and activate this for the flagship during the Easter egg, but this book is potentially the exact same one that Stuhlinger has in his pocket. I'm going to tell you exactly why. Now, Nero in Shadows of Evil has always been sort of kind of skittish, right? He's been just like Stuhlinger, and to the fact that they're very conspiracy oriented. They're not really quite like the other characters, and the fact that he talks about this book and says that this book gives him nightmares about other universes and other beings and stuff, he has read this book before, but he refuses to even go near it just because it scares him. And that always kind of concerned me because I always wanted to know what was in that book. You can actually go up to the book when you're doing the flag step in Shadows of Evil and look on the pages, but it's blank. It's probably not meant for you to see, or they didn't want to like texturize and put the writing on that. For whatever reason, you can't actually see what's on the pages. So In that case, we're not really supposed to know what's on those pages, but this isn't the only time we see this book in Black Ops 3. There's a lot of other instances and references to it now, especially the one in Revelations I want to show you guys. So during the intro cutscene on Revelations, we see Dr. Maxis sitting in this chair right here and reading this book. Now, I don't know if this is the Chronorium or this is the brown book that we're talking about because we can't really see the back of it. There is a distinguishable difference between this brown book and the Chronorium. The brown book that's in Stuhlinger's pocket and in Nero's room and all this sort of stuff, it's just a very plain brown book which doesn't have any special writing or any markings on it, and you wouldn't even really think it's a particularly special book unless you were told so. And then if you look at the Chronorium right here, this book has a very amount of design on it. There's some writing on the back, and it has a very nice cover to it, and it's red and all this kind of stuff. So I don't know if this even is the Chronorium or not. But to try to understand that question and answer, we need to understand what Richtofen used the Chronorium for, and what we actually know what's inside of the Chronorium itself. Now we know that Richtofen used this to gain knowledge about what to do and how to set the universe right when he was missing during that 2-year period. And we also know that in Garad Krovi there's a bunch of ciphers around the map that are actually excerpts from the Chronorium itself, and they tell about the Apothicons and how they actually came to be. It tells them that they were actually corrupted keepers who were corrupted by the darkness and then thus sent to the Dark Ether. We know all that from Garad, and that those were actually from the Chronorium straight out of the pages itself. So I guess what we need to know from that and take away from it is that we know a pretty good amount about what's in the Chronorium and what it's used for, but we don't know a whole lot about this brown book. We've only seen it a few times. Like I said, we've seen it in Buried, and we really hear Stuhlinger kind of turn it up with the whole conspiracy quotes in this map, and he talks about the other beings, that sort of thing, and not to mention the Rift, which is a whole other topic, which could be, I can make another entire like 15-minute video about. But I digress. The point I'm trying to make here is that we don't know really too much at all about this brown book. From the little knowledge that we do have, we know that it's a very scary book, as this gives Nero nightmares, and he talks about that a lot, kind of conversing with the Shadow Man a little bit. He talks about that this book giving him nightmares, and he will never go and approach that book again. And not only that, in Revelations, in the intro cutscene, we see Dr. Maxis sitting here in this chair reading this book, and he's hearing the voice of the Shadow Man in his head. Now, whether this is induced by the fact that he's reading that book is kind of uncertain at this point. We know that the Shadow Man is kind of able to talk to Maxis because he doesn't have a soul, and he's very, very easy to influence, but because maybe that book kind of exacerbates that problem is kind of unclear. But if I had to take my best guess at this, I would definitely say yes, that this does have at least some sort of effect on Maxis kind of being talked to by the Shadow Man and being influenced and pulled in by him. Now, something really interesting is that when I went to California for COD XP, during the Treyarch Zombies panel, I actually asked Jason Blundell myself if the book that's in Stuhlinger's pocket and Buried is the exact same one that we see in Nero's room in Shadows of Evil, and he refused to answer. He said, you know what, that's too deep. I can't answer that question for you. And I was like, alright man, that's really all I need to know. But that just kind of really suspicious to me. Now, I know that doesn't mean automatically yes that he kind of refused to answer. That doesn't automatically mean that he is kind of giving into that answer and that I'm correct. But let's just say hypothetically that the book in Stuhlinger's pocket is the one that would be in Nero's room. What would that actually mean? This means that this book is somehow able to jump universes, right? This could be like the Chronorium jumping to different universes, but maybe this is kind of a separate book that is also jumping. We don't know if Richtofen is completely aware of this book as well. I was kind of thinking that maybe this is the, I guess, Apothicon version of the Chronorium. Right? This is where all of the kind of plans for the Apothicons getting into the universe is stored. Now, I know that is rather speculative, but I want to know what you guys think about that. Do you think that this could be a separate book to the Chronorium, and this is also jumping universes along the same one? Somehow, it started out, alright, let's say there's an origin point somewhere. We don't know exactly where it came to be. Stuhlinger picked it up somewhere between Die Rise and Buried, and I'm just going to make a video kind of explain where it came from, but I'm just going to say it maybe came from Egypt, as the only spot that we see in between Die Rise and Buried are the pyramids of Giza in Egypt. So I don't know really about that, but let's just say there's an origin point for this book, and then somehow Stuhlinger gets a hold of it, and then after that somehow Nero gets a hold of it and it's in his room. But we don't really know what the events for this book are in between those two timelines, which is something that I want to explore. So as we get more comics to come out, I'm sure this is going to be explained in further detail. I think the reason why Jason refused to answer that question is because this is probably going to be explained later in the comic book series. The next one is going to drop in December, and I believe this is going to be the one about Russman going back to Broken Arrow, which is really, really interesting. I can't wait to update you guys on that, but this is kind of the theories that I've been having, and if you guys do agree with this, do let me know in the comment section down below. Do you think that this brown book in Stuhlinger's pocket and in Nero's room is the same thing as the Chronorium? And I'm not really sure about that. It could have been detailed later with all the other things outside of the cover. I'm just not really sure at this point, but just based on the detail that we talked about in today's video, I would tell you that these could probably be two separate books. The Chronorium and this book could be a different thing. We don't know the name for this particular thing. So anyway guys, I hope you guys did enjoy this video. Let me know your theories about this in the comment section down below. This is a relatively new thing that not a lot of people have been talking about, which is really interesting. I'm going to update you guys as soon as we get some further information in the comments, like I said. But anyway, I hope you guys did enjoy today's video. If you did, don't forget to slap that like button, guys. Of course, we're going to be going for 115. And also, not to mention, if you guys are new to this channel, if you did enjoy this, don't forget to subscribe if you guys haven't already, because I'm going to be doing videos like this all the time, and of course, updating you guys on anything that goes down. The Zombies comics are coming out soon. I cannot wait to cover that. But anyways, thank you all so much for watching again, and thank you for almost 12,000 subscribers, which is an absolutely insane milestone. I can't thank you guys enough. But anyway, thank you all for watching once again, and I will catch you guys on the next video.